All right. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Kevin Meiselman podcast. Today, I am joined by an unbelievable guest who you guys are going to learn about. Her name is Taylor Hurd. She's a Division I player at Quinnipiac University. Unbelievable basketball player. I actually played with her in the summer at Venice Beach in the QUNLA program. Became one of my very close friends, and we've been in touch ever since. And she's here to join me today during her quarantine.
Oh, thank you for that intro, Kev.
Of course, of course. What have you been doing during all this isolation?
Well, I just started a TikTok account, so I've been trying to learn some dances and have some fun with that. But when I'm not having fun, I'm trying to be serious, and I'm still on the job search. But I want to go into sports, so it's on pause a little bit with the quarantine. But yeah, just making sure I'm keeping up with my studies. I'm zooming into my classes, and I'm on student government, so we have meetings, which are nice. Like it breaks up the week from having all that free time. Basement workouts I've been working out in my basement using what we have down there, which is a lot of like bands and like little weights. So trying to get creative with that.
Yeah, and you haven't been able to hoop at all?
No, like the parks near me are closed off except for the trails, so I haven't really tried risking it. But I bet I could do some ball handling. We have a little like pavement leading up to our house, so some
hmm
stationary work there.
Yeah, I've still been able to play. It feels like 10 years ago when we were playing at Venice Beach. We would show up. People thought we were brother and sister. First of all, I remember that a lot. We're definitely going to be reminiscing about those moments later on in the show. But first, I think we have to start with the fact that you are a Division I basketball player who, in your senior year, unfortunately, got that taken away right as the MAAC tournament was about to start. So you guys were still in the locker room, right, when you found out?
Yeah, so we were we were like exiting the bus when our coach kind of mentioned that Greg Amodio, who's the athletic director, and President Olian kind of left it up to coach to give us the ultimatum if we wanted to play or not. And of course, we're already suited up, like ready to go in there to head in the locker room and warm up and everything. So we were like, yeah, like of course, as long as it's safe. And at that point, I don't think like the conversation was as progressed as it was leading up to our game. But there was a game before us, so we knew everything going on around us. Like we were getting the ESPN notifications of like all the leagues dropping out. So it of course was in our minds, but I think because there were teams playing in the MAAC tournament, we really never thought that we would get, cheated out of a game. So yeah, we were taped. Becky, our athletic trainer, we had our ankles taped, knees taped, everything ready to go, warm-ups on. And I would say around like 1:45, when we were going to head out to the hallway to stretch, they told us to like keep dancing in the locker room. We were like doing a little pregame, hype up. So like we kept dancing and kind of like, goofing around, trying to stay warm and stay ready for the game. And then it was like 2 o'clock, then 2:15. We still hadn't heard anything. So we kind of figured that they were going to call the tournament off. And then Coach Fabry came in to break the news to us and kind of address the seniors first and just thanked us for our careers, our time, and our efforts. And it was like, I never expected for our senior send-off speech to be in this way, like before we even played a game in the MAAC tournament. So I think I was just so shell-shocked with emotion from, the tournament being canceled, but also that this was like the end for us, that I really didn't process it until after when we got home from Atlantic City.
So, like, how did you process that? Because I can't imagine. Like, I that's part of what has been helping me keep perspective is that I'm just a senior student who misses drinking with my friends. Like, there are athletes who got their shining moments taken away. So, like, what I don't know. Like, how have you been like processing all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of mentioned it. It's just perspective. Like, I think what was really keeping me grounded was knowing that I'm not the only one affected by it. It's all spring and, full-time athletes that were getting their seasons, cut short or even taken away. I think that was another thing I was thinking of, like being a spring sport senior and having your whole entire season taken away. And I think I'm just so grateful that our program has experienced so much in my 4 years. Like we had 3 NCAA appearances, like we won 3 MAAC championships. We've gone to Vegas for a tournament. We've, played UConn. We've done all this stuff as a mid-major program that I never even expected to be a part of. And I think even like in this quarantine, just staying grateful for being healthy. I mean, I, ended my college career healthy. That's another plus to think about. So just, yeah, like you were saying, keep everything in perspective and understand what other people are going through, and that, you're not alone in it.
That was well said. I mean, part of the reason I had you on is I know you're one of the most like insightful people I've ever met. Like, you're very thoughtful. I can just tell by all your Instagram stories, your posts. You're always trying to motivate people, and I love that because you're a person who has been through a lot. And I definitely want people to know about all this because I just think it's very inspiring. I think a lot of people that will listen to this will leave with a smile on their face, or at least just more perspective, like you mentioned. So you were given the Hartford Healthcare Award by the state of Connecticut. You had 2 ACL surgeries in high school on the same knee, which I don't know how someone overcomes that. But there was a little bit of a personal struggle that's talked about. I know it's it's definitely a very, very sad topic, but if you don't mind talking about it, I think it would be really good for people to kind of hear your story, kind of how you've been getting through it, and it'll put this whole virus thing in perspective. I think it'll be really good for people.
Yeah, so before I even came into college, I had 2 ACL surgeries. It was back to back my junior and senior seasons. And so I finished my college career with 700 points as a sophomore. And, anyone that's a high schooler wants to get to that 1,000 point mark. And that was really something I wanted for my senior year, just to be like a nice closure for my high school career. And unfortunately went down with the second one, and it kind of skewed my recruiting process. Some schools dropped out, which I don't blame them for. It's scary to offer someone a scholarship and that much, money and everything when you don't know how they're going to come back, especially after a second one. So that was one of the biggest reasons I committed to Coach Fabry and her program, was because she had that trust in me to get back to where I was playing, and use my work ethic to contribute to her program. And then when I got here, my parents traveled to everything my freshman year. Like, they were even following us to California when we were in the Sweet 16. They were just a part of it. And then my sophomore year, when I was in summer school, I got a call from my mom on a Tuesday saying that my dad had had a silent heart attack. And apparently he wasn't really like breathing too well for like a week. And she eventually forced him to go into the hospital. And they had said he suffered a silent heart attack where there was like a hole in his heart. And so I guess it was so progressed because he didn't realize that he had had the heart attack that they offered him a total artificial heart, which is actually like a machine that would go in place of your heart. So this was, of course, new to us. It was a lot to process in a short amount of time, just because it was so such an emergency situation. So he had said yes to the artificial heart. My dad was all about, as long as there's an option, like there's a way. So
It sounds like Iron Man.
yeah, kind of was. I mean, he literally had a machine in his heart, and
Wow.
it was new to us because the machine, like, there's two like kind of like tubes that come out from your like stomach area, and so he had a machine that he was always connected to, and eventually was able to go on what they call a freedom driver. So we were able to carry that backpack around for him, and that's how he was mobile and able to come home for the times that he was healthy enough to. But it was scary. Like, the backpack runs on batteries if you're not plugged into an outlet. So there have been times where the alarm has gone off and we've had to change it in, the middle of a parking lot when we were at this like AAU tailgating reunion thing. And also when he was watching my brother in the stands for football, my mom had to change it up there. So we were going through that kind of like level of stress for 3 years. It was so new to us, so new to the doctors, this artificial heart. So there was a lot of figuring it out on both sides. And he eventually passed away this January, but he gave a fight, and he, through this whole process, I mean, my mom too, they've just taught me so much about putting things in perspective, and just his outlook on everything. Like, the nurses always commented on how respectful my dad was, like always thanking them regardless of like how many times they were coming in and out of the room, or even if it was just bringing him a straw for his drink. So like, I think I learned a lot through his outlook on life, regardless of being cooped up in a hospital for 3 years and not really seeing the outside at all. So I think during this quarantine, just really taking the time to process everything, obviously, that's happened in my life recently, but also looking forward and just reevaluating what I want out of life, kind of seeing where I need to refocus in some areas, and just really taking the time to kind of reflect and rejuve. So when this is all over, have a new outlook going back into the world.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable that like you're still standing, you're still doing things, you were still playing basketball after all that happened because like, you know me, I've experienced my own struggles with the mental health stuff. That's why I have a mental health podcast that I struggled with, but I've never faced anything like that, like losing a family member that close to me. So that's why I think it's so inspiring that you could still have this perspective, this open-heartedness, and not be this bitter person when all this happens. I think it's what we all need to do to keep moving forward. So a lot of people that are listening to this are definitely resonating with you, whether or not they've experienced that. But I guarantee that you're helping people by kind of sharing this.
No, and I want to say, like you bring up a great point, Kevin. Just to say, like, that you've never experienced losing a loved one, but I always think about like that kind of thing. You never know what people are going through, and like just because someone's struggle seems less significant than yours doesn't mean they're affected any less than you are with what you're going through. And that's something like I think it was so hard to keep people updated on my dad's situation because it's so hard to relate to. Like it's such a unique situation of him just being so up and down with his health condition and with what was coming next as far as like what they were able to do for him. So I wasn't really like outward in that sense. But I mean, I hate for anyone to compare struggles because we all go through them. And I think it's really important to stress that just because someone's struggle seems less significant on the outside doesn't mean they're fighting, inner battles on the inside. So
Mm-hmm.
just,
You're
yeah,
right.
proud of you too for being like open about yours, because I know a lot of people go through mental health. I mean, I know I did through college, just being a basketball player and then adding in the stress of like, a family situation and everything. But I think it's important to be open about it and to let people know that it's okay. Like, overcoming adversity is how you grow and how you get to the next stages of life. So
That's why I had you on, because you resonate with this stuff. You get it. You're smart in that way. And I think you make a great point that you just never know, because some people handle things differently. Someone could look good for 5-6 years handling something and then just snap, and it turns
yeah.
into this whole whirlwind of like a shitstorm that they're dealing with. So like you said, I think perspective is that's pretty much life. It's how you want to look at the situations that are coming to you. And I don't know, by overcoming what you've overcome so far, I feel like you've got that set for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean you won't need help or anything, but you're seriously a warrior for all that. And then it's nice that Connecticut awarded you. Like, you've been recognized for it. So you're definitely kind of a leader in this conversation for sure.
Well, thank you, Kev.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I definitely want to reminisce a little. We'll get away from the sad stuff. I honestly, I wouldn't even have brought that up. I know you were really open on your latest Instagram post. So I felt like I had the clear to kind of talk about that. But
Oh, yeah.
we got to tell people a little bit about Los Angeles. So I never
We
really
do.
knew you. I think I had one journalism class with you. And I didn't really know you were in the program. I think I saw the list, but I knew you were a Division I basketball player, obviously. And I first QUNLA meeting, we had the teacher like doing this like PowerPoint explaining everything. First person I talked to after I went up to you, I said, you have to come play basketball with me at Venice Beach. I'm going to be there 4 or 5 days a week. I literally only worked 14 hours a week. So I was at Venice Beach almost every day. To have you go there with me every day, like the 20-minute walk, just beautiful. Like just walking by the beach, showing up, playing pickup, like that was the life. I'm so happy I had that last year, and that's taken away from some people this summer.
Yeah, no, LA in itself was like an experience worth being at Quinnipiac for. Like, I think of like all the reasons that God drew me to Quinnipiac, and I think that was one of them. And definitely us being in the program at the same time, I don't think was any coincidence. But yeah, he did. Kevin came up to me at the end of the meeting and he was like, we got to go play basketball at Venice Beach. And at that point, I don't even think I knew of like the like spectacle of Venice Beach. I was just like, oh, that'd be cool. Like, and then you were during those walks telling me like the history of, you know, what was filmed on those courts, or like we walked past Muscle Beach and you're filling me in on that. So you were like my little tour guide in that sense. But no, I would have never had the confidence to go down there by myself. So I'm so glad we had each other. And you were like the king of starting up pickup games. Like you would be grabbing people from the stands like, hey, you want to play? And I mean, that's how I got my work in this summer and kept up with the basketball side of it before I came back from my senior year. But it was just like, I think about that. It was the best mental break for me being just like in California and Los Angeles, and then like the experiences that we got to experience through that program. It was the best reset for me heading into my last year.
Mm-hmm. And you got me courtside tickets to a Sparks game, which was pretty lit.
Yeah.
You interned for the Sparks, and we're gonna get back to a little more Venice Beach story, but tell people about that. And is that somewhere you want to work in the future?
Oh yeah, so I'm a journalism major, but I interned for the public relations department of the Sparks this summer. And the Sparks, I don't know if everyone knows, is a WNBA team. Hopefully you know them,
Come
but
on, guys.
yeah, they have like Candace Parker, you probably know her, but it was so surreal. Like, and Molly Annity, who's a professor at Quinnipiac, I had approached her without her even being one of my professors. I just knew she was a fan of our basketball team, so I felt comfortable enough to have a conversation with her, and she actually had the connect with the PR director. And so she called him, he called me, we had our interview, and it was kind of set. And I was just like, I don't think I realized how easy that process is until I go through like a job search now, where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful. But I think it was just meant to be. Like, I was working game days for a professional like team, which is so unreal to say. And just like the projects that they trusted me with were grown up things. It wasn't like intern duties for them. They definitely trusted us and relied on us a lot to produce game day content. I had 2 feature stories produced in their game day magazine, which like now I get to have that forever, that hard copy. And there's also stuff that I wrote that went on their website. So just so cool. Like, I think it really motivated me for what was to come after basketball, and kind of gave me that confidence boost, not only as like a person, but as like a professional. So it was just a unreal experience. While you were there, I think, was that when Floyd Mayweather was there?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
we both
Kyrie was sitting with
stars.
his daughter,
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather. This will make for some good IGTV content. I'll put the picture up like right now.
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson was sitting one row in front of me. Memphis Grizzlies power forward. He's like 7'1". It was so sick to meet him. I got a picture with
Could
him.
you see over him?
Huh?
I said, could you see over him if he was
He was
that
a
tall?
little to the left, so I was good. But
Okay.
yeah, I went down and like I stepped over 2 rows. It was like during the play actually. So it was was my fault I did that. I was like, can we get a picture? His agent or something was like, you guys gotta wait. What are you doing? So around halftime, I went down with this one kid and we got a picture with Jaren. I think there was
Nice.
a couple other celebrities there though. I'm just forgetting. But seeing Floyd Mayweather, I mean, he probably had like 50 million on that game. He's just a big
Oh, yeah.
better. So I bet he was betting on that.
I know. I was surprised to see him in the corner there, but yeah, that was so cool seeing like stars courtside. And then
Mhm.
like just the being in the Staples Center where the Lakers play, like such a cool ambiance and a cool environment to be a part of.
Mhm. Speaking of Staples Center, wow, I don't know how this just popped up. We're gonna have to talk Kobe a little, just as basketball people and being in LA in the summer. Like, I wouldn't say I was I love Kobe, right? And I wouldn't say that you walk around every day and people are like Kobe, 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 because that's just not how life works. But you see a lot of Kobe jerseys, you see a lot of respect for him. There's definitely murals around like the areas.
Yeah.
He's definitely sort of that hero. I mean, if you would have told me that we were there, like, I don't know, 6 months before this happened, and I don't know, I can't imagine going back to Venice Beach and it kind of being the same. There's probably so much Kobe stuff around there. I almost feel like it gives you a perspective, like enjoy the court that you're on. I don't know. It's kind of
Oh
giving me
yeah.
that. I was actually on a basketball court when this happened. Someone said we were playing fives at Quinnipiac and someone goes, yo, Kobe just died. And we were all like, okay, where's the fake news coming from? Um,
Yeah.
and then I remember I wanted to keep playing almost because I was like, I want to play for him. It was like, I don't know. I think that has actually kind of been in my consciousness a lot when I'm having a bad day. He's just so special. And I think the reason we feel all this is there's all these personal stories. It's not 1 or 2 people. It's this guy I had on my mental health podcast, I didn't even bring up a question about Kobe, and he brought him up in the sense that he helped him. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. I want your thoughts on that. Just as a hooper, was he a role model?
Yeah, so I never really followed like the NBA growing up. I obviously knew who he was, but it wasn't until after his passing that, like you're saying, I realized his effect on everyday people. Like my teammate Amani Free, like that is her go-to superstar idol. Like she loves him. Like her handles on Instagram are like Lady Kobe. Like I mean, she is all for it. So she really took it hard, and it was almost like we were helping her mourn a personal friend. And I just like, I look at Kobe Bryant's legacy and you think like, wow, like this man was really able to reach so many different demographics. And the fact that everyone has, like you're saying, like personal connections to him is just, I think, so cool to see. And I think it was for me, like I was kind of learning about him after his passing, and it was kind of like a different perspective than everyone else, but just like seeing everything that was put out on him, and really kind of getting to know him in that light of just like being the hardest worker, like in the gym so early. And I didn't realize like he was kind of written off like in the beginning of his career and kind of like worked to become this legend. So I think his story is just so profound. And even how his family's handling it, it seems like they're grounded in faith. And like, I mean, Vanessa has had such a great outlook on just like, you know, them being together, Kobe and Gigi, but even Gigi's legacy, like for her to be a face for women's basketball and like women's sports, I think it's just, yeah, I keep saying cool. I'm realizing like I keep saying the word cool, but it is like, it's
It
just,
is, yeah.
yeah, so I guess that's my thoughts on that.
I think it's really interesting that, and I wonder if this is almost where, and I'm sure you know, the WNBA obviously doesn't get the publicity it deserves. It doesn't get the nationwide attention that these players are unbelievable. You know, it's interesting that maybe it takes one of these superstar NBAs to have like a daughter, right? I mean, I know Kobe was another level, so it's not like that would just work for anyone, but
Yeah.
I would have watched Gigi Bryant play every game, you know, just because of her coming from Kobe, because her personality too. It's not just her ability. So I feel like that was such a, that's also what hurts too. Like that family was still contributing so much more. Like Kobe said it himself. He wasn't done, even close to done. He was doing way more, trying to make stories in books or movies. And Gigi was, I really, really did think was going to like transform the WNBA just because she would have been so, just transformative, and like
Yeah.
people really would have respected her. And I think Kobe would have actually coached her in the WNBA. I'm convinced of that he would have been, I'm the head coach.
That would have been so cool. And yeah, like you were saying, like I saw this interview and it was saying, like I guess a fan or I don't know who it was addressed Kobe and was like, "Oh, are you gonna try for a son?" And he was like, "Why would I,
Mm-hmm.
need a son?" And they were saying for basketball, like he needs to, live up to your legacy. And he was like, "Gigi can do that." And I think that is kind of, forward of what would have been. And I guess it's kind of cool for that to be the narrative of people, having that closure of like what could have been, and using that as like, hey, this is our foundation for what we need to do to progress women's sports and the WNBA. And I understand, like I don't like all sports. Like I love sports, I don't like all sports. I don't really watch golf as often or tennis, and I think it's fine when people don't prefer to watch women's basketball, but when women's basketball professionals are being slighted on, like have to take commercial airfare and are stuck in airports, or they're not getting the same resources that the men's professionals are, like that's what I have a problem with, because that's more so an equality thing than it is, a preference thing for fans. I mean, like I just wish like I could give everyone a free ticket to a WNBA game, because I think until people are immersed in that atmosphere, like at the Staples Center, I know I'm a basketball fan, but it was just so cool seeing these women play live, and seeing them like a different game than the men's game. Like the men's, I feel like is just more athletic. They're trying to, show off a little more, and the women's game's more strategic. And I think both styles of play can be appreciated, but yeah, I think that was a little tangent, but going back to Kobe and Gigi, I think they have transformed the game, even though they didn't have as much, time as they probably would have liked to.
No, you're supposed to go on tangents. It's a podcast. It's
Yeah.
the whole point. No, I really like that. I think a lot of people will agree with you. And yeah, I never had been to a WNBA game, and I went to the Sparks Aces game. And turns out my favorite WNBA player is Kelsey Plum. She's absolutely money. I played one WNBA game in 2K. I used her. I hit like 6 threes in a row. So she's
Nice.
my favorite. But yeah, I agree. It was an awesome experience, and I think it's more about kind of the awareness or the draw to go, right? Like if I don't really have any female basketball, I don't have any sisters, so I don't have any female basketball players in my house, where it just never really, like, it wasn't a disrespect, but it doesn't really, I don't think we
Resonate
never
with
went out
you.
of our way to go to a Liberty game in the summer.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's about that equality aspect, because the owners are the same. The Staples Center are playing where the Lakers play. It's all comes from the same
Yeah.
ownership. So you're saying they're not even getting the right airfare?
Yeah, so there's been like multiple stories of teams being like trapped in the airport just because they are flying commercial and are at the mercy of those commercial
Oh.
airlines. And even the WNBA, like because of their pay grade, they have to constantly play year round, which is stress on their bodies, but that's just to make up for the money that they're not, getting as
Mm-hmm.
a salary. Like these are their jobs, and it's to support them. And to Europe and play, an extra season when they should be, getting that time to rest like the NBA players do. It's wear and tear on their bodies. And like then to not get that respect of being a professional athlete is kind of, I can imagine like wearing on their mental. But that make me think of like Brianna Stewart. I think she was MVP of the league, the W, like 2 years in a row, and she was still getting paid more in Europe. I think she was playing in Russia at that time, was still getting paid more overseas than she was in the US. So it's just stories like that where it's like, why is it taking us so long to get there? But it's definitely, a fight that's gonna, I think, keep progressing. And thankfully, some of those bigger names like Candace Parker are getting more of a voice in the sports realm. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, and I wonder when it's going to change, because there's a market for it. Kyrie was at the game with his daughter. Floyd Mayweather was there. People want to watch, especially in big markets. It's not like there's 30 teams that are filling the whole league. It's New York, Chicago, a lot of LA, a lot of big cities. So I think we will see progress eventually. I obviously can't speak to it from the same like passion as you can, but you're a voice I 100% respect on this. So I'm sure a lot of people are gonna agree with you on this.
Thanks. Yeah. And like I said, like I don't expect everyone to, go to games if that's not your thing to watch women's basketball, but at least like respect them. Like some of the comments I
So,
see on Twitter are just like so ignorant. And I'm just like, if, one of those things, if you have nothing nice to say, like don't say it. And
mhm.
I feel like some people do say it for the attention, but these are real people, and they're people that are passionate about what they're doing. And I think to take that away from them is, not the greatest thing.
Yeah, and this is weird, but like you're probably a little bit better than me at basketball. And we go up to Venice Beach, and I recognize the first few times when we would try to play fives with people, I always had to be like a little bit pushy that you were good. Like once they saw your jump shot, didn't matter. But big 6'6" guys like playing at Venice Beach, like
Oh
they didn't
yeah.
at first. They're not like naturally. They're probably not taking you seriously. You would end up scoring half the points every game when we played. So I mean,
No,
that was sick.
that is like I think about because I'm very like I don't know. I'm very girly when I play, I guess you could say. Like I have my, sometimes I'm wearing makeup, or I like roll my shorts just because I don't like the long shorts. But I think that's another thing, like the stereotype of just like what a basketball player should look like. And we don't have to be masculine. Like we don't have to be, boyish, tomboyish. Like we can be ourselves, our, girly selves, and still play the game. And I kind of mentioned it's a different style, but there's still that level of like dedication and commitment that you have to put into it, like any other sport. So yeah, Kevin was definitely my wingman in that sense. He vouched for me and made
I,
sure, yeah.
I remember one of the last couple weeks we were there. We played 2-on-2, me and you versus, I don't know. These were like two European kids, maybe. I don't know. They definitely didn't speak great English. we destroyed them. I think we won like 21-3. I remember
Yeah.
you kept saying, Kev, short shots, because I was hucking threes, but it wasn't one of my better shooting days. But I just remember you kept like crossing this kid up. Like he just could not stop you. It was one of the best moments out there for sure.
Well,
Like,
that's like the fun part is when someone like is like, oh, like this girl doesn't have game,
mm-hmm.
and then you're like, yeah, okay, like we'll
Yeah,
see.
because when it comes down to the jump shot, like there weren't very many people that could hit more shots than you. Like Taylor, I'm going to be remembering my summer playing basketball at Venice Beach for like 50 years. I'll be telling my kids about this, and you're forever linked to that, which is just
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool. Like it was sick, and honestly, it made it way more fun for me. I was gonna have to walk by myself every day and just like it's funny you mentioned before I was kind of the guy who started all the pickup games. I remember
Yeah.
once someone called me LeBron, not because I can dunk or shoot or anything at his level, but because I was tampering. I remember I like picked out you, my brother when he visited, and like two random people to like squat up against this five.
Yeah.
That was probably the best day I had.
You had a nickname out there.
White chocolate. First day. That's in the YouTube video you made too. You guys should all go to Taylor's YouTube page and check that out. That
Yeah.
was sick. I'll probably just post some clips. I'll screen record from that.
Yeah, no, you should. We like you didn't bring a basketball out to LA. We had to buy one on the Venice
Mm-hmm.
Beach boardwalk. I remember going in there and picking one out.
Yeah, no, that was so fun. Oh my God, I miss it so much. What I
I
would do
know.
for normal times right now. Ugh,
Oh, I know.
yeah, I got a hoop outside, but it's just not the same.
I know.
That
It's not the
scenery
same
was
concrete
special.
around us.
It made my game a lot better too, because you can't really like shoot threes as much with the wind. The court was slanted, so like I had to learn how to like spot up like Klay Thompson at like the elbow. So it helped my game at like pickup all year. Like got me a lot
No,
better.
yeah. I think like playing with the guys ball too, like since it was a little bigger for me, like
Oh, I
when
completely
I got the
forgot
girls
about
ball,
that.
I was like, oh wow, this is lighter.
I remember you just like kept complaining. You're like, oh, this ball sucks. I'm not even shooting well, and you'd hit like 4 threes in a row. So I don't know.
No,
that
it
happened
was
a lot. So
but even like I remember playing against those like 6'6" like ex professional guys. Like remember some of them were like, yeah, I played overseas or whatever.
oh my
And I
God,
was just
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like I hope they like remember that I am
I,
fragile
I
in the game, like and don't rough me up underneath.
I almost had to go back to New Jersey early. We were playing pickup. It was like really early in the summer. Two of the guys you're probably talking about were 6'7". I've never seen muscles that big, like biceps
Yes.
bigger than my head, like dreadlocks. Like these were the most intimidating people I've ever met. Coming down
Yes.
on a 2-on-1, and I'm the one. These two people, they look exactly the same, 6'7", dreads, jacked, and they throw an alley
Yeah.
oop over my head, and I'm just watching, like, please don't complete it, please don't complete it. And the guy missed the dunk off the back of the rim. Would have been the most humiliating moment in my entire life. Like there was nothing I could do. Like I needed to get out of the way there. So, oh my
Yeah,
God.
we would have had to
But we still
disassociate. We
held
would
our
have had
own.
to split up.
Yeah, I mean, we still held
No,
our
we
own
really
though.
did.
Like,
Yeah, and that was like no, I was just gonna say, like, the people we met, like you said, like, those two foreign kids that were our age were coming over here, like, on a whim excursion. Like, I guess they told their parents. Remember, they were like, yeah, we told our parents, like, 2 weeks before, and we're just, like, I think they were staying at hostels or, like,
yeah,
Airbnbs. And just, like, to meet those people and meet those two big, were they brothers? The ones with the
I don't even know.
big muscle?
They
I
were
don't know.
just
It looked like.
massive.
But yeah, to meet their personalities and even the people that were watching it would like come up to us and be like, "Oh, hey, you guys are good." Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so cool that that was like a
Yeah,
safe environment for that. And that's
right.
something that I don't really have in Quakertown, or it's more of like a New York thing for them to play pickup at their local park or whatever. So to have that in LA, like surrounded
No,
by the beach.
I saw Glenn Davis there too, a power forward for the Celtics who won a championship with them in '08.
Yeah.
He's like one of the big three team members. Like I met him. You weren't there that day, but it's just cool that like there's that sort of like mutual understanding where I say like basketball is a brotherhood no matter how good you are. Like I remember missing a few layups in front of Glenn Davis, but I ended up hitting the game-winning layup. But went
There
over
you
to him.
go.
I'm like, "Can I get a picture?" The guy was so high. Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, he's like a huge weed advocate. I mean, it's legal out there. He was an NBA player, like whatever. But I look at him and I'm like, his eyes were. I was like, "Can I take a picture?" He was like, "Yeah, dude, that's fine."
Probably didn't even know he took a picture.
But like that was just like the whole vibe. It was just so like just relaxing, and I don't know. The whole thing at Venice Beach was one of the more like unbelievable places I've ever been. And like you said, like it's different when you're there for a few days. You go there for 2 months, you're gonna see a lot of different stuff, and you start to notice like what's
Oh
normal
yeah.
there. And all these people coming up with cameras, taking videos, like It was just so cool. I miss it so much. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go back there one day.
Oh yeah, like I am telling everyone I'll probably get a job like for 1 or 2 years around here, but I want to save up to get back there at least for, my 20s because it's just
Hmm.
I try to explain to people it's just a different like you were saying vibe. Like it's so easygoing, I want to say, and just like I felt so much less stress there and was still productive, but yeah, it's definitely so different than anything over here, the West
Hmm.
Coast.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the city or LA, and I don't know. You're right. Like, I love the city. I grew up in Jersey, obviously, so I go to the city all the time. But
Yeah.
the just like the nature of Los Angeles and kind of the way people go about their business, the relaxation, I think it's very good. Like for my mental health, probably. Like it's a very
Mhm.
just calming place. And obviously it's sunny. That's good. Like there's just everyone's in shape. It seems like I don't know. I miss it. I definitely want to be there for a few years too.
Yeah, I remember like the traffic light intersection before like going to Venice Beach and like doing our walk
Hmm.
on the boardwalk. Like
Still
there's
remember all the
everyone with
stores.
dogs. Yeah, right. Like everyone's at the corner with their dog or their bike or their scooter. Like it was just like that was where everyone who's working
Hmm.
out that day met and then they went on with their ways. And I just like will always remember that. Um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, like you were saying, all the little coffee shops, everyone getting their coffee on their morning walk.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah, no, oh, I miss it. I think that's a great way to end this. Let's end it on a positive note. Like once we're out of quarantine, I'm sure we'll hoop up again sometime.
yeah, we'll have to check it up.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Taylor. Any last things you want to share for people? I don't know, anything.
I think just to stick follow. What am I trying to say? Subscribe and follow to Kevin because he
Oh,
has
of
great insight as
course.
well. Like he is one of the most like genuine persons I've ever met, and I'm grateful. Like I was excited to do this. Like this is not a burden at all for me. Like I was excited for our conversation. Like I'm excited for what's ahead for him. I just think he's a great voice for mental health, but just like life itself. Like you're just such a happy person, and I admire that about you. And I'm glad that LA and God made our paths cross because I feel
Oh,
like we'll be sticking together for a while. So.
thank you. I can't agree more. I try to be happy, but yeah, this was so fun. Taylor, I'm being honest with you. I was thinking this like 20 minutes ago. I've never been more proud of a podcast episode because I think it was so real and so natural, unlike any other show I've ever done before. And there was just so much to it. Like I said, you're a very insightful person, and like I knew how this was going to go. So, thank you
Oh,
so much. Guys, stay tuned on my Instagram to find out who episode 3 is going to be. I've had like 15, 20 people say that they want to be on. Not
wow.
everyone is as insightful and successful as Taylor, so I don't really know how those conversations would go. But we're going to be producing. I'm going to be producing a lot of stuff because I have nothing else to do. So see you
Well,
guys.
glad to be a part of it. Thanks for having me, Kev. And we'll have to do a follow up in
Oh,
some weeks to come after we get some hoop sessions in.
definitely, for sure.